Hello, how are you? I'm fine, thank you. Sit down, please. I'd like to speak English today too, to improve my speaking skill. Let's get it started. Today, it is November 17th, 2022. It's on Thursday, and it's sunny outside. How are you spending Thursday? Coffee. How are you going to spend the reward? How are you going to spend the reward? One of the rewards of my job is that I can get free lunch every day. Good. Reward. We shouldn't anticipate the reward for what we have done for others. Reward, 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 reward. What rewards can we get from the company? The employee got the reward of free round ticket to Hawaii for his contribution to the sales figures of the company. The employee got the reward of free round ticket to Hawaii for what he have done for the company. The employee have got the reward of free round ticket to Hawaii for what he have done for the company. In big companies, employees can get rewards twice a year called bonus. But there are many small or middle-sized companies which cannot afford giving bonuses to the employees. So it's not fair. Reward. Reward. There are many kinds of reward. I got 500 yen for submitting my idea improvement called Kaizen, and which was accepted, so I could get 500 yen as a reward for that, for improvement. I got a reward of 500 yen for submitting my Kaizen improvement. The reward which was given to the researcher was so small at that time. Nobody knew how precious the invention was. Reward, 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 reward. Mm. Reward. Do you want to get a reward? Reward. Reward trip. Incentive trip. The employee got a ticket, free round ticket to New York as a reward. The employee got a free round ticket to Hawaii as a reward. We should get fair reward for what we have done. We should get the fair reward for what we have done. We should get reward for what we have done. We should get reward fairly. Reward. I hope my efforts will be rewarded. I hope my efforts will be rewarded, paid off, bear fruit. I hope my effort will be rewarded. I hope my effort will reward me. I hope my English study will reward me. I hope my effort will reward me. I hope my effort will reward me. What we have done will reward us. 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 Reward us. What we have done will reward us. Reward us. Reward us. Reward us. What we have done will reward us. What we have done will reward us. I hope my efforts will be rewarded. 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 His series of negligence at work rewarded him, ending up being fired. His series of negligence at work rewarded him, ending in being fired. Reward. I hope our efforts will be rewarded. I hope all of your efforts will be rewarded. I hope all of your efforts will be rewarded. I hope my efforts will be rewarded. This is the result of my effort rewarded me. His long years of commitment to the research rewarded him finally, winning the Nobel Prize of Physics. His long years of research, his long years commitment to the research, his long years dedication to the research, his long years devotion to the research rewarded him. His long years of commitment to the research, his long years of commitment to the research, his long years of dedication to the research, his long years of devotion to the research rewarded him, inventing the awesome masterpiece. I hope my English study will reward it. I hope my English study will reward it. I hope my study will be rewarded. Climbing the mountain is rewarding. Climbing the Mount Fuji is rewarding. I want you to see the beautiful view from the top of the Mount Fuji. I want you to see the beautiful view from the top of the mountain. It's beyond description. It's beyond the description. I cannot describe by words, so I want you to feel how beautiful it is. Rewarding, 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 worthy of climbing Mount Fuji. Mount Fuji is worthy of climbing. Valuable, rewarding. Experiencing is rewarding more than reading a book, I think. Challenge working on the spot is more rewarding than reading a book. Experiencing is more rewarding than reading a book. Rewarding, 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 rewarding. Rewarding, rewarding, rewarding. Rewarding, rewarding. Rewarding, rewarding. 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 Is it rewarding? The things which are rewarding now might be not rewarding in the future. The things which were not rewarding in the past might be rewarding now. So the things that are rewarding will change with time. The rewarding things will change with time because our values change. Our values have been changing with time. Our values, what we are valuing, has been changing. What we value has been changing with time. Rewarding things will change with time. Rewarding things have been changing with time. Rewarding things have been changing with time. Because what we value, assess, has been changing. Because what we find valuable, because what we find valuable has been changing. Because the things we find valuable have been changing with time. Rewarding things have been changing because the things that we find valuable have been changing with time. Rewarding. Climbing the mountain is rewarding. Experiencing is rewarding. Experiencing is rewarding. Experiencing, experiencing is rewarding. Experiencing is rewarding. Experiencing is a reward. Experiencing is rewarding. Experiencing is rewarding. Experiencing is rewarding. Experiencing is rewarding. Difficult qualifications should be paid recognition to more, because many of difficult qualifications include some of the I had difficulty in getting made light of. I don't want the society make light of difficult qualifications. I would not like the society to make light of difficult qualifications. We had difficulty in getting them though. I don't want the society to make light of difficult qualifications which we had difficulty in getting. I want the society to pay recognition to my to qualifications more. I want the society to pay recognition to our skills, qualifications, more than status, and so on. It can take time for our skills or talent to be paid recognition to. It can take time for the works of the art of the artist to paid recognition to. It can sometimes the works of art can pay recognition to after the death of the artist. The works of the art of an artist can be paid recognition to after the death. The works of the artist, the works of the art can be paid recognition to after the death of the artist. Some of the works of the art of the artists were paid recognition to after the death of the artist. How do you pay recognition to a thing? What is the criteria to pay recognition to a thing? What is your criteria when you pay recognition to a thing? What is your standard or criteria when you pay recognition to something? Pay recognition to, pay recognition to, pay recognition, recognition to, pay recognition to, recognition to, pay recognition to, recognition to, pay, pay recognition to, pay recognition to, pay recognition to, pay recognition to. What is your criteria when you pay recognition to a thing? What is your criteria or standard when you pay recognition to a thing? When you pay recognition to a thing? When you pay recognition to a thing? What is the criteria or standard when you pay recognition to a thing? In schools, teachers might pay recognition to those who get high scores on tests. In schools, teachers might pay recognition to those who get high scores on tests. In schools, teachers might pay recognition to those students who get high scores on tests. In schools, teachers might pay recognition to those who get high scores on tests. And in companies, the bosses or senior executives might pay recognition to those working hard or contributing to the company a lot in a financial way. Difficult qualification should be paid recognition to more. Difficult qualifications which we have difficulty in getting should be paid recognition to more. I think difficult qualifications should be paid recognition to more. There are always outstanding students in a class, but I was not one of them. There are some students outstanding at every field. There are always outstanding students who are good at both academic and physical education. There are always outstanding students who are good at both academic and physical education. The diplomat succeeded in solving the outstanding problem. There are some outstanding territorial disputes between the countries. There are some outstanding problems between the countries. There are some outstanding conflicts, problems, issues between the countries, which should be solved in a peaceful way. Outstanding result. Outstanding result. Not everybody is outstanding at everything, every field. No people are outstanding at every field, all fields. No people are good outstanding at every field. No people are outstanding at all fields. No people are outstanding at every field. Outstanding that, outstanding utility bill, outstanding problems, outstanding issues, outstanding mysteries. Outstanding students. Are you outstanding at soccer? Are you outstanding at baseball? We are outstanding at something, but it can be difficult to find what we are outstanding at. It's very important to find what we are outstanding at before entering the society, and we can take advantage of the outstanding one. It's very important to find the outstanding one. We should keep searching for what we are outstanding at, and we should take advantage of it in life. When he won the lottery, he paid back all of the outstanding debts. When he won the lottery, he paid back all of the outstanding debts. When he won the lottery, he paid back all of the outstanding debts. Outstanding debt. The man accumulated outstanding debt by borrowing money from multillaneous banks. Outstanding. How are you going to deal with the outstanding problems? There are many outstanding problems, disputes, conflicts, issues. How are you going to cope with outstanding issues? In the board of directors, they discussed a strategy to tackle the outstanding problems. In the board of directors, they discussed the strategy to solve, tackle the outstanding problems. Outstanding problems. Outstanding debt. Outstanding electricity bill. Outstanding water bill. Outstanding utility bill. Outstanding bill amounted to 200,000 yen. He ended up being forced to go out of the apartment. He was obliged to go out of the apartment because he couldn't pay the utility bills. Outstanding. 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 Outstanding problems. Outstanding debt. Outstanding debt. Outstanding payment. Outstanding payment. Outstanding payment. Outstanding payment. Outstanding issues. Outstanding problems. Outstanding tasks. When he won the lottery, he paid back all of the outstanding debt. When he won the lottery, he paid back all of the outstanding debt and paid back 20% more than the amount in honor of the person who lent money for him. Outstanding. One of the outstanding problems were resolved by the diplomat. It became the memorable day when one of the biggest outstanding problems was resolved, solved, tackled. Outstanding debt, outstanding bill, outstanding bill, outstanding problems, outstanding problems, outstanding problems, outstanding debt, outstanding payment. The labor union complained the employer for outstanding payment, outstanding overwork fee. The labor union complained the employer for outstanding bonuses, outstanding payment for working overtime. The labor union complained the employer for outstanding the payment for working overtime. The labor union complained the employer for outstanding payment for working overtime. The labor union complained the employer for outstanding payment for working overtime. Outstanding bill, outstanding debt, outstanding debt, outstanding debt, outstanding debt, outstanding debt, outstanding bill, outstanding debt, outstanding problems, outstanding issues. There are many outstanding problems. All of the outstanding problems were solved by the treaty, except with some exceptions. All of the outstanding issues were resolved, tackled with the treaty, with some exception. Outstanding debt, outstanding problem. Outstandingly. Some companies are growing outstandingly, while others not. What is the difference? What are the factors which made the difference? Some students make a quick growth in academic fields outstandingly. Some people show rapid pace of the growth in academic fields outstandingly. His skill at playing the piano was so great outstandingly since he was kid. His excellent skill at playing the piano was so outstandingly. His skill at playing the piano grew so rapidly, outstandingly. His skill at playing the piano grew outstandingly. His skill at playing the piano improved outstandingly. His skill at playing the piano improved outstandingly. The number of foreign tourists went down outstandingly since April 2020. The number of tourists decreased drastically, outstandingly, after the pandemic. The number of tourists decreased after the pandemic, outstandingly. Outstandingly. The inauguration ceremony of the King was broadcasted outstandingly at all of the presses in the world. During the pandemic, some fears grew up tremendously, outstandingly. And during the pandemic, some demands went up outstandingly. And during the pandemic, demand for outdoor activities, video games, and so on increased outstandingly. Outstandingly. The number of tourists went down, diminished, decreased after the pandemic outstandingly. 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 The number of tourists went down, decreased outstandingly after the pandemic, but gradually it is recovering recently. More and more countries are alleviating the border measures, abolishing the border measures, doing away with the border measures. Outstandingly, 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 outstandingly. Outstandingly, outstandingly, outstandingly. Outstandingly. Outstandingly, outstandingly. Some industries have been growing outstandingly. Some industries have been growing industry. Some industries are growing outstandingly. Some fields are growing outstandingly. Some field is 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 growing outstandingly. Especially tourism industries got damaged during the pandemic outstandingly. Tourism industries got damages outstandingly during the pandemic, after the pandemic. Tourism industries have got damages since the pandemic. Tourism industries have got the damage since the pandemic. Outstandingly. Tourism industries have got the damages outstandingly since the pandemic. Outstandingly, outstandingly, outstandingly. A failure might lead the company to bad reputation outstandingly. A failure or a mistake might lead the company to bad reputation outstandingly, which is not good. Outstandingly. Today it is outstandingly good weather. Outstandingly good weather. Today it is outstandingly good weather. Outstandingly good weather. Your performance was outstandingly very good today. Outstandingly. Outstandingly. Outstandingly very good. Outstandingly. Outstandingly very good. Outstandingly beautiful. A bowl of rice topped with beef called gyudon is outstandingly tasty for me. Some fields are growing outstandingly. 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 Tourism industries have got damage from the pandemic outstandingly. Tourism industries have got damages outstandingly. Tourism industries have got damage outstandingly. 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 Which field are you good at? Which field can you perform the most in? Which field can you perform the most in? In which field can you perform the most? It's very important to find the field you can perform the most in. It's very important to find the field in which you can perform the most. You can be good at. It's very important to find the field in which you can perform the most better. You can perform the best. The field might be to become a teacher or to become a salaried worker or to become a comedian and so on. It depends on the person. My grandmother likes harvest something in the field. My grandmother likes harvesting in the field. My grandmother planting some seeds in the field. My grandmother likes planting seeds in the field. My grandmother likes working in the field. My grandmother likes planting seeds in the field. My grandmother likes planting seeds, sowing seeds in the field and waiting for the flowers to bloom. My grandmother likes harvesting in the field. My grandmother likes to harvest in the field. My grandmother likes to sow seeds, plant flowers, vegetables. My grandmother likes growing vegetables in the field. My grandmother likes to grow vegetables in the field. Paddy field. In spring, you can see paddy field filled with rice seeds. In April, in spring, we can see the workers sowing the seed for rice, which will be harvested in the summer. Paddy field. In spring, we can see the paddy field filled with water for the rice to grow. In spring, we can see the workers sowing the seeds of rice in the paddy field called tambo, which are harvested in summer. Which field are you good at? Which field can you perform the best in? 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 Track and field. I used to like track and field. Now I want to measure my skills at track and field. Now I'd like to measure how I can perform at track and field. The principle of the equation is beyond the reach of my imagination, understanding. I couldn't make heads or tails of. I couldn't make heads or tails of what the lecturer was explaining on the board. I couldn't make heads or tails of what the professor was explaining. The principle of the relativity is beyond the reach of my understanding. The principle of the relativity is beyond the reach of my understanding. The principle of the relativity is beyond the reach of my understanding. All the principles should be abolished. All the principles should be done away with. Principle. It's not impossible to reach the destination in time, in principle. In principle. We have to be the destination in time, in principle. In principle. There are many things 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 in principle. 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 You cannot take the examination if you forget to bring the entry ticket. The entrance pass. In principle. In principle, you cannot take the examination if you forget to bring the entry ticket. Examination card. Examination card. Examination paper. Examination card. Examination card. Examination letter. Examination card. In principle, you cannot take the examination if you forget to bring the examination card. Examination card. In principle. In principle. I make it a rule to study English every day on principle. I try to speak English every day on principle. The refund cannot be available in principle except for natural disaster or something like that. Refund cannot be available in principle, so please bear that in mind. So please keep that in mind. In principle. Refund cannot be available in principle. Once you have finished the payment, the refund cannot be available in principle. Once you have finished the payment, the refund cannot be available in principle. In principle. In principle. In principle. In principle. In principle. You cannot take the examination if you forget to bring the examination card in principle. In principle. In principle. You are not allowed to bring flammable items in the cabin. We accept only cash in principle. We accept only cash in principle. In principle. In principle. In principle. We accept only cash in principle. We accept only cash in principle. In principle. In principle. In principle. In principle. In principle, all of the employees are required to bring the identification card all the time whenever they enter the building. Otherwise, they cannot enter. In principle, all of the employees are required to bring the identification card all the time with them. In principle. The working hours of the employees are from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. o'clock in principle. The working hours of the employees of the company are from 9 a.m. to 5 o'clock p.m. in principle. In principle. In principle. In principle. The minutes you can play the piano is up to 5 minutes in principle. The time you can play the piano is 5 minutes in principle. After 5 minutes you have to take turns. You have to take a turn with someone waiting for the play. You are allowed to play only for 5 minutes in principle. You are allowed to play the piano, the public piano, for up to 5 minutes in principle. I study English every day on principle. On principle. What do you do as on principle? What are the things you are doing every day on principle? What are the things you do on principle? On principle. On principle. On principle. On principle. What are the things you are doing on principle? I study English every day on principle. I study English every day on principle. I do what I'm interested in on principle. I do what I'm interested in my life on principle. I do what I'm interested in 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 on principle. I do what I have interest in on principle. I do what I have interest in on principle. I do what I have interest in on principle. I do what I'm interested in on principle. On principle. On principle. On principle. I do what I'm interested in on principle. I try to reject what I don't like to do on principle. Can you say no on principle? I try to say no to what I find vice on principle. I try to say no to what I find vice. Hmm. I try to say no to what I find vice in principle on principle. On principle. I try to say no to what I find vice. What I find vice. On principle. I try to say no what I find vice. On principle. On principle. On principle. On principle. On principle. On principle. I don't drink alcoholic beverages, nor smoke a cigarette. On principle. On principle. I do what I'm interested in. On principle. If you cannot understand the vocabulary, first you need to build up the fundamentals. If your score is under 300, first you need to build up the fundamentals. If your score is under 300, first you have to build up, brush up the fundamentals. 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 If your score is under 300 on TOEIC test, you have to build up the fundamentals first. Fundamentals. Fundamentals are the most important part of everything. It's like a pyramid structure. If the fundamentals are not solid, firm enough, the upper bricks will collapse. That's why the fundamentals are the most important part of everything. Fundamentals are the most important part of everything. It's like a pyramid structures. If you accumulate more things on the basement, on the fundamentals, it will collapse without enough fundamentals. If the fundamentals are not enough, all of the things accumulated on the fundamentals will collapse. I mean, if you bring 2 bricks. You can put 2 more bricks on that. But if you put only 1 brick on the basement, you can put only 1 brick on that. No 2 bricks can be put on 1 bricks. So if you put more than fundamentals, they will collapse. That's why the fundamentals are the most important part of everything. Fundamentals. Let's build up our fundamentals of the understanding. Fundamentals. Fundamentals are the most important part of everything. Without enough fundamentals, those accumulated on the fundamentals will collapse. Fundamental human rights are guaranteed by the Constitution. 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 Studying every day is fundamental and very important thing. Studying every day is fundamental and very important thing. Fundamental human rights, fundamental human rights, fundamental human rights. Fundamental human rights are guaranteed by the Constitution. I do with light food for breakfast fundamentally. I fundamentally do with light food for breakfast. Or I do with only a cup of coffee for breakfast fundamentally, sometimes. I fundamentally do with refreshment for breakfast. I do with light food for lunch fundamentally. I fundamentally finish lunch for 5 minutes. I fundamentally finish my lunch within 5 minutes. Fundamentally. I fundamentally finish my lunch for 5 minutes. I fundamentally finish my lunch for within 5 minutes. Fundamentally. I fundamentally finish lunch within 5 minutes. I fundamentally finish my lunch within 5 minutes. Fundamentally. 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 I fundamentally don't eat out. 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 Don't eat out. I fundamentally don't eat out. Don't eat out. I fundamentally don't eat out. Don't eat out. Don't eat out. Don't eat out. I fundamentally don't eat out. Don't eat out. Fundamentally. Fundamentally. Guest houses are fundamentally reasonable. I chiefly do what I'm interested in. I chiefly put importance on doing what I'm interested in. I chiefly put emphasis on doing what I'm interested in. I chiefly put emphasis on doing what I'm interested in my life. I chiefly put importance on doing what I'm interested in. I chiefly put importance on doing what I'm interested in, doing what I have interest in, doing what I have interest in. I chiefly put emphasis on doing what I have interest in. I chiefly put importance on doing what I'm interested in. I chiefly put emphasis on doing what I'm interested in. Chiefly. I chiefly drink a cup of coffee in the morning. I chiefly order espresso in the morning to get up. I chiefly order a black coffee at the cafe. I usually order black coffee. I usually order black coffee. I usually order a cup of 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 black coffee. Chiefly. I chiefly order a black coffee, a cup of black coffee. I chiefly order a cup of black coffee. I chiefly order a cup of black coffee. Chiefly, 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 chiefly. Chiefly, 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 chiefly. What do you do on Sunday chiefly? What do you chiefly do on Saturdays and Sundays? What do you chiefly do on weekends? What do you chiefly do on weekdays, weekends? What do you chiefly do on weekends? What do you chiefly do? 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 What do you chiefly do on weekends? What do you chiefly do on weekends? What do you chiefly do on weekends? I used to chiefly eat lunch at school cafe. I used to chiefly eat lunch at school cafe. I used to chiefly eat lunch at school cafe. I used to eat lunch at school cafe chiefly. I used to chiefly eat lunch at school cafe. I used to chiefly eat lunch at school cafe. I used to chiefly eat food at school cafe. The noun plays a chief role in the project? Have you ever engaged in the project? Have you ever engaged in the tourism industry? Have you ever taken a chief role in a project? Have you ever taken a chief role in a project? Have you taken the chief role in a project? Have you ever taken a chief role in a project? Have you ever taken a chief role, chief role in the project? Have you ever taken a chief role in a project? Have you ever taken a chief role in a project? Have you ever taken a chief role in a project? Have you ever taken a chief role in a big project? Have you ever taken a role in a project? Have you ever taken a role in a project? Have you ever taken a role, taken a chief role in a project? Have you ever taken a chief role in a project? Role in a project. Take a role in a project. Have you taken a chief role in a project? Have you taken a chief role? Have you taken a chief role in a project? Have you ever taken a chief role in a project? Have you ever taken a chief role in a project? Chief, section chief, director chief, shop chief, store chief. Rice is chief staple, chief food for me. Sleeping and eating are chief routines in a day. Sleeping and eating are the two chief routines in a day. Sleeping and eating are the two main routines in a day. Chief. Cars are chief industries. Producing cars is a chief industry. Producing cars is a chief industry. Producing cars is a chief industry in that country. Producing cars is chief industry in the country. Producing cars is a chief industry in the country. Producing cars is a chief industry in many countries. Chief. Who is the chief person? Chief executive officer. Do you know the name of the chief executive officer of the company? Chief financial officer. Chief financial officer. Chief executive officer. Chief executive officer. Chief financial officer. Chief person. CEO stands for Chief Executive Officer. CFO stands for Chief Financial Officer. Section Chief. I was getting along with Section Chief. Section Chief helped me a lot. Section Chief helped me a lot. Section Chief. Section Chief. Section Chief helped me a lot. Helped me a lot. helped me a lot. Section chief 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 and manager. Manager. Section chief and general manager. Section chief. I went for a drink with a section chief and some colleagues. I went for a drink with a section chief and some colleagues. Section chief. There are many annual events out there. Many annual events were called off due to the pandemic. An annual report. According to the annual report, the number of foreign tourists decreased a lot since the pandemic. There are many annual events held out there. Many annual events were called off due to the pandemic. Where did you get the annual report? Where did you get the annual? Where did you get the annual report? Where did you get the annual report? Annual report. Where did you get the annual report? Where did you get the annual report? Annual. An annual report. Some of the employees are looking forward to getting the annual report of the company. Getting the annual report reminds me. Getting the annual report makes me feel like the end of the year. Getting the annual report makes me feel the end of the year. Getting the annual report makes me feel the end of the year. Annual will be sent to all of us. 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 Annual. 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 The tournament takes place annually. The tournament takes place annually, and many athletes aim at becoming the champion, because the tournament is the highest competition in the field, and it is also broadcasted by TV, although less and less people watch TV. Many events are held annually. The examination is held annually, so I was so afraid of failing because if I failed, I would have taken that again in the next year. The examination is held annually, so I was afraid of failing because if I had failed, I would have taken that in the next year. Non-military honor, non-military honor, honor, honor. I was honored for contributing to the company. I was honored for contributing to the company. Non-military honor, 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 honor. Annual letter. What is the difference between annual letter and annual report? Annual letter, annual letter, annual letter, annual letter, annual letter, annual letter. Annual letter, 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 annual letter. Annual letter. What is the difference between annual letter and annual report? An annual report, an annual report, an annual report, an annual report, annual report, report, an annual report, annual report, an annual report, an annual letter, annual letter, an annual letter, annual letter, an annual letter, annual letter, an annual letter, an annual letter, annual letter, annual, annual letter, annual letter, annual, 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 annual letter, 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 annual, annual letter, 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 letter, annual letter, annual letter, annual letter, annual letter, annual letter. Could you put the language into Japanese? The human resources is searching for 2 or 3 candidates who can put English into Japanese. Can you put the language into Spanish? Can you put the language into English? I can put the English into Japanese and the reverse. I can put English into Japanese and the reverse. I prefer to put English into Japanese. I prefer to put Japanese into English. Hmm. Could you put English into Japanese? Could you put Japanese into English? Could you put Japanese into English? Could you put German into English? Could you put German into Spanish? Could you put German into Italian? Could you put English into Italian? Could you put the Italian into English? I prefer to put Japanese into English. The human resources is looking for 2 or 3 employees who can put English into Japanese and reverse. My duty is to put Japanese into English and reverse. One of my duties is to put Japanese into English and reverse. My duty is to put Japanese into English and reverse. One of my duty is to put Japanese into English and reverse. One of my duties is to put Japanese into English and reverse. Could you put the language into Japanese? Could you put what she said into Japanese? Could you put what she said into Japanese? Could you interpret what she said into Japanese? Could you interpret what she said into Japanese? Sure, thank you. Putting foreign language into our native languages is not an easy task. Putting a foreign language into my native language is not an easy task. It's tough. And translation is not only one answer. There are many ways of translating, so not everybody will translate the same way. Putting the news into Japanese will be a good practice. Putting the news into Japanese or English will be a good practice. One of my duties is to put Japanese into English and the reverse. One of my duties is to put English into Japanese and the reverse. One of my duties is to put the Japanese into English and the reverse. One of my duties is to put Japanese into English and the reverse. Could you put the language into Japanese? Could you put English into Japanese? Could you put the contents of the English book into Japanese? Could you put the contents of the English book into Japanese? Could you put the English language into Japanese? Could you put the English written in the book into Japanese? When I passed the examination, some of the professionals recognized me as a professional, a member of professionals. When I passed the examination, the professionals recognized me as one of the members. When she played the piece without any mistake, the professionals recognized her as the real pianist. I won't recognize the promotion at the expense of other colleagues. Honor. No one will recognize the promotion at the expense of others as honor. The architect was recognized as a real architect after 10 years. It took about 10 years until he was recognized as an architect. It took about 10 years until he was recognized as a real architect. It can take such a long time for the artist to be recognized as a real one. It can take time for the works of the art to be recognized as real ones. When I accomplished the feat in the company, the executives finally recognized me as a member of the company. I don't recognize those with a lot of followers as reliable people. Reliable ones. Reliable ones. I don't recognize those with a lot of followers as reliable ones. Reliable people. I don't recognize those with a lot of followers as reliable people. Do you recognize those with a lot of followers as reliable people? Reliable people. Do you recognize those with a lot of followers as reliable people? Reliable people. Do you recognize those with a lot of followers as reliable people? It sometimes the works of art are sometimes recognized as authentic ones after the death of the artist. The works of art can be recognized as genuine ones, authentic ones, after the death of the artist. When he got the prize, he was finally recognized as a real actor. When he won the championship of the tournament, he was recognized as a real champion. When he won the championship of the tournament, he was finally recognized as a genuine athlete, authentic athlete. I cannot recognize I cannot recognize those with a lot of followers as reliable people. I cannot recognize those with a lot of followers as reliable people. Mm. Many foreigners recognize Japan as safe country. Many people recognize Japan as safe country. Many people recognize Japan as safe country. Many foreigners, many people in the world recognize Japan as safe country. Many people in the world recognize Japan as safe country. Many people in the world recognize Japan as safe country. Many people in the world recognize Japan as safe country. Many people in the world recognize Japan as safe country. Do you regard spending time and money on gambling as waste of money? Do you regard spending money on gambling as waste of money? Do you regard spending money on gambling as waste of money? Do you regard spending much money on gambling as waste of money? Every employee regard him as savior and hero, superhero, because he is willing to accept the tasks which everyone else doesn't want to do. The employee is regarded as a superhero because he is willing to accept the tasks everyone else doesn't want to do. The 10 o'clock chime reminds me of the o'clock time. The 10 o'clock chime and 3 o'clock chime remind me of the time. Remind me about the time. It can be said to others too, I think. But the sound is a little bit too noisy, too big. The sound is a little bit too big, I think. Some events remind me of the season. Some events remind me of the season. Some events remind me about the season. Some events remind me about the season. Some songs remind me of the memories. Some songs remind me about the memories. The flashlight is getting dim. I have to replace the batteries with new ones. Since the flashlight, the sensor light was getting dim, so I had to replace the batteries with new ones. Would you mind helping me replacing the batteries with new ones? Would you mind helping me replacing old electric bulbs with new ones? Would you mind helping me? Would you mind helping me replace old electric bulb with new ones? Would you mind helping me replace LED light with new ones? With the advancement of the technologies, AIs and robots, more and more jobs will be replaced by AIs. More and more jobs will be replaced by AIs, robots, and so on. Robots or AIs will replace as new workforce in the future. AIs and robots will replace as a new workforce in the future. More and more AIs and robots will replace us as a new workforce in the future. More and more robots or AIs will replace us as a new workforce in the future. We have to be prepared for that. But it's in the future, just prediction. But we cannot know what will happen in the future. So let's see. The scammer robbed the old lady of money. Don't rob children of dreams. Don't rob children of their dreams. The scammer tried to rob the old lady of her purse. The scammer tried to rob the old lady of money. The scammer tried to rob old couple of money. The scammer is robbing old couples of money. Don't rob children of their dreams. 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 Don't deprive children of their dreams. Don't deprive children of their dreams. The scammer tried to rob old lady of money. Some diseases robbed me of my precious adolescence. Some diseases robbed me of my adolescence, which I cannot take back. We all see the employee as superhero because he is willing to accept the tasks everyone else doesn't want to do. All of us see the employee as a superhero because he is willing to accept tasks which everyone else doesn't want to do. All of the employees in this department see him as a superhero because he is willing to accept the tasks which everyone else doesn't want to do. I might be seen as crazy, but it's not a right answer to see someone as crazy because everyone is different, so everything should be okay. Everyone has a different taste, hobby, and so on. So everyone can be unique or normal. Japan might be seen as a safe country. Japan might be seen as a rich country yet. Japan might still be regarded as a safe country, a rich country. Japan might be still seen as a rich country. Japan might be still seen as a rich country. Japan might be seen as a rich country. Japan might be seen as a rich country. I don't see those with a lot of followers as reliable people. I don't see those with a lot of followers as reliable people. Could you share the happiness with me? I'd like to share the happiness with you. I'd like to share the information with you. Nobody will share such a good deal with others. Good dealings are always hidden within them. Good dealings are always hidden in them. Nobody will share such a good information with others. They will monopolize the benefits. They will monopolize the benefits. I'm so happy to be able to share such a beautiful moment with you. I'm so happy to be able to share such a good moment, such a romantic moment with you. The time shared with you is my dream. It's my memory, memorable memory. I cannot forget the memory that we share together. I'm so happy to be able to share this time with you. I'm so happy to be able to share this time with you. I'm so happy to be able to share this time with you. I'm so happy to be able to share this time with you. I'm so happy to be able to share this time with you. I'm so happy to be able to share this time with you. I cannot spend such amount of money on gambling. How dare you could spend such an amount of money on gambling? How dare you could spend such a good deal of money on gambling? How dare you could spend a good deal of money on gambling? How dare you can say such a thing to him? How dare you can say such a thing to him? How dare you can say such a thing to him? How dare you can spend a good deal of money on gambling? How dare you can spend a great deal of money on gambling? I spent much of my time on getting the qualification. I spent much of my time on getting the qualification. You might as well throw your money away as spend money on gambling. You might as well throw your money away. You might as well throw your money away as spend that on gambling. I don't want to spend such a good deal of money on gambling. I cannot spend such a lot of money on gambling. I cannot spend such a lot of money on gambling. Can I substitute margarine for butter? Can I substitute margarine for butter? Nothing will substitute face-to-face meeting. Nothing will substitute for face-to-face meeting. Nothing will substitute for face-to-face meeting. The vice president will be substituted on the business trip, while the CEO is on the business trip. The vice president will be substituted, and he will do everything the CEO used to do while he is on business. The annex building was substituted for the headquarters because of the maintenance. The annex building was substituted for the main building because the main building was under construction and maintenance. The annex building was substituted for the main building because the main building was under maintenance. The annex building was substituted for the main building because the main building was under maintenance. Can I substitute margarine for butter? Can I substitute margarine for butter? Can I substitute this paintbrush for that one? A fruit arrangement was substituted for The salad set, salad set, salad set. A fruit arrangement was substituted for the salad set, salad set, salad set, salad set. The fruit arrangement was substituted for the salad set. Food and drinks were supplied. Food and drinks were supplied with. The volunteer group is supplying the victims with food and drinks. The volunteer group supplying the victims with food and drinks. The volunteer group is supplying the refugees with food and drinks. The supplier supplies the company with the machines. One of the duties of secretary is to supply the coffee machine with coffee powder. Could you supply me with information? I will supply the car with gasoline, gas, petroleum at the petroleum station. I'd like to supply this car with petroleum before we go on a trip to the mountain. Let's supply this car with the gas before we go on a trip to the mountain. The supplier supplies the retailers with some miscellaneous goods. The supplier supplies the retailers of seafood. The supplier supplies the retailer with seafood. The supplier supplies the retailers 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 with seafood. The supplier supplies retailers with seafood. Supplier supplies the retailers with seafood. The supplier supplies the retailer with seafood. The supplier supplies the retailer with seafood. Could you supply me with the rest of the information? I supply myself with information from the website. The stores supply us with food. The power plant supplies us with electricity. The power plant supplies us with electricity. The power plant supplies us with electricity. The catering service company supplies the company with food every day. The restaurant supplies customers with very good high-quality hamburg. The volunteer group supplied food and drink. Supplied the refugees with food and drinks. The volunteer group supplied the refugees with food and drinks in the disaster-stricken area. The volunteer group supplied the refugees with food and drinks. The volunteer group is supplying the refugees with food and drinks in the disaster-stricken area. The volunteer group is supplying the victims of the natural disaster with food and drinks in the disaster-stricken area. It was not until yesterday that I was informed of the truth. I was notified of the truth. It took some time for the factories supply the retailers with masks. It took some time for the factories to supply the retailers with masks, because a lot of people started to buy the masks at the same time suddenly. It took some time for the factories to supply retailers with the masks. It took some time for the factories to supply retailers with masks. It took some time for the factories to supply retailers with masks. It took some time for the factories to supply retailers with masks. The man was suspected of stealing money from the bank. The man was suspected of invading into the bank. The neighborhood suspects the man with gray hat of entering the city hall during the midnight. The neighborhood suspects the man with red hat of invading in the city hall in the midnight. The detectives suspect the criminal of engaging in 2 or 3 more active criminal activities. The detectives suspect the man of engaging in 2 or 3 more criminal activities. The detectives suspect the man of engaging in 2 or 3 more criminal activities. The detectives suspect the criminal of engaging in a couple of more criminal activities. The detective suspects the man of engaging in a couple of criminal activities. The police officer suspects the man of getting such amount of money suddenly. The police officer suspects the man of earning such amount of money suddenly. The police officer suspects the man of having earned tremendous amount of money at once. The police officers suspect the man of having earned extraordinary amount of money. The police officer suspects the man of having earned ex- extraordinary amount of money, tremendous amount of money, a good deal of money, a great deal of money, a large amount of money. The police officer suspects the man of having earned tremendous amount of money at once. The police officer suspects the man of invading into the bank during the midnight because he was captured from the security camera, in the security camera. The innocent person had been suspected of engaging in the criminal activity for a long time until he was released with evidence. The innocent person had been suspected of engaging in the criminal activity for a long time after decisive evidence was discovered, which led him to release from the jail. The innocent person had been suspected of engaging in the criminal activity for a long time until the decisive evidence was discovered, which led him to release from the jail. I was often taken for my father. I was often taken for my father. I used to take the position of Tottori Prefecture for that of Shimane Prefecture because both prefectures are located in next to each other. I often used to mistake the position of Tottori Prefecture for that of Shimane Prefecture because both prefectures are located in next to each other. And the kanjis look so similar too. A little similar, maybe. Please do not take me for my father. Please do not take me for my father. I used to take kanji for Ehime for that of Aichi because they both look similar. I sometimes mistake the kanji for Ehime for that for Aichi. I took her in her 20s because she looked so young, but she is actually in her 40s. I took her for in her 20s because she looked so young, but actually she is 40s. She is in her 40s. She is in her 40s. I sometimes take Saturday for Sunday. I sometimes take Saturday for Sunday. Do you do? I sometimes take Sunday for Saturday. I sometimes mistake Saturday and Sunday. Do you feel the same mistake? I sometimes take Saturday for Sunday. I sometimes take Sunday for Saturday. 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 I was often taken for my father. My relatives or friends often took me for my father. My relatives or acquaintances often took me for my father. My acquaintances often took me for my father. Can you tell the copied goods from genuine ones, authentic ones? Can you tell vice from virtue? 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 Can you tell the difference? Can you tell the vice from virtue? Can you tell the virtue from vice? Can you tell the vice from virtue? Can you tell the real sound played by 1 billion yen musical instruments from the sound played by 200,000 yen instruments? Can you tell the sound played by 1 billion yen musical instrument from the one played by 20,000 yen beginner's set musical instrument? Can you tell the sound played by 1 million yen violin from the sound played by 20,000 yen violin? Could you translate English into Japanese? Can you translate Japanese into English? The wizard cast a spell on the lady, transforming her into chocolate. The wizard cast a spell on the lady, transforming her into chocolate. The wizard cast a spell on the lady, transforming her into a candy. The annex vacant lot was transformed into a parking lot for the employees. The annex building was transformed into a guest house. The old house was transformed into a guest house. The old deserted house was transformed into a guest house. The entrepreneur is thinking to transform the old house into a guest house. The project team is thinking to transform the old building into a guest house. The wizard transformed the lady into chocolate. The wizard transformed the lady into chocolate. The vacant wetland was transformed into a parking lot. Could you translate Japanese into English? In autumn, the leaves will turn into colorful colors. The jokes made by the boss turn the strict atmosphere into casual one. The jokes made by the boss turned the strict atmosphere into casual one. The jokes made by the boss turned the stringent atmosphere into casual one. The annexed wetland was turned into a parking lot. The project team is thinking to turn the old building into a guest house. The project team is thinking to change the old house into a guest house. The project team is thinking to turn the old building into a guest house. The old house was turned into a guest house. I don't view those with a lot of followers as a good reliable people. I don't view those with a lot of followers as reliable people. The employee is viewed as a superhero because he is willing to accept the tasks which everyone else doesn't want to do. The employee is viewed as a superhero or savior because he is willing to accept the tasks which everyone else doesn't want to do. The employee is viewed as a superhero or savior because he is willing to accept the tasks which everyone else doesn't want to do. Japan might be viewed as a rich country. Japan might be viewed as a safe country. Generally speaking, Japan is viewed as a safe country. Generally speaking, in general, as a whole, at large, as a whole, Japan is viewed as a safe country. Japan is viewed as a safe country. Japan is regarded, seen, viewed as a safe country. Japan is viewed, seen, regarded as a safe country. Many people in the world will regard Japan, see Japan, view Japan as a safe country. Many people in the world will view Japan as a safe country. Many people in the world will view Japan as a safe country. Many people in the world will view Japan as a safe country. Many people in the world will view Japan as a safe country. And some people view those talking to them scammers as scammers. Some people view those talking to them as scammers. And some people view those talking to them as scammers. Some people might view those talking to them as scammers on the street. Some people might view those talking to them as scammers. Some people might view those talking to them on the street as scammers. Some people might view those talking to them in street as scammers. Some people might view those talking to them in the street as scammers. Some people might view those Some people might view those talking to them in the street as scammers. Some people view those talking to them as scammers. Okay, I will finish speaking here. Thank you for watching. See you next time. See you.